And we're back, ladies and gentlemen, with our NFL portion of the football segment of episode 174 of the Splashcast Monday Night Raw. We appreciate it. Make sure y'all like, follow, subscribe. Norwood over there whooped, bro. That boy shuffling his feet across the floor.
Yo, holding on to the everlasting. I do this because I love it. Let me tell you, I am
Yes,
exhausted.
sir.
What
Yes,
we gonna
sir.
do?
So we got some NFL out. We're gonna break off football and then we'll do basketball on Tuesday. It'll all come out Thursday for those that are listening. Um, but starting off with NFL, man, before we get to the playoffs. Well, the playoffs are set. Falcons didn't make it. We'll get to that once we get there. But what happens and what we have every year, some people have different names for it. I call what we call Bloody Sunday or Bloody Monday. I'm sorry, Bloody Monday. Bloody Monday is when a lot of teams move on from their coaches, or a lot of coaches move on from their coordinators, or a lot of presidents move on from their GMs, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that is no different than what's going on this year. All right, that boy over there. All right. ASMR.
Dehydrated.
Oh, ASMR. Um, the Jaguars fired Doug Peterson, which you knew was going to happen. He was a dead man walking last year, and because they signed Trevor Lawrence, I don't know why, but they decided to keep him. And now, after an abysmal season, Trevor Lawrence will have another head coach, another offensive scheme, and they will try to the Jaguars will try to figure out how to make themselves competitive again.
This is stupid.
Why?
And I honestly think I may feel bad for Doug Peterson because this is not his fault. You pay too much for a quarterback who's not capable. For the new people, thank you guys for listening. If this is your first time, but this has been an ongoing thing for me for at least 2 or 3 years now about the time leading up to signing Trevor Lawrence, and now we're on the back end of what that actually means when you make these type of colossal mistakes. This is the part of podcasting that I enjoy the most is everything
I
leading
told you
up
so.
to this. No, it's not the I told you so. It's about how you spend your money and how those things affect your future and affect your organization. Going leading up to this, I was like, are they gonna pay him? Are they gonna pay him? Are they gonna pay him? They paid him. Ever since they paid him, they have been in a tailspin. This was That's what got Doug Peterson fired. This team is just not good enough. The quarterback at what he's getting paid is not producing. I don't think that that's Doug Peterson's fault. Doug Peterson didn't draft him and didn't sign him. All he's doing is trying to coach a guy who's not good enough and costs too much.
Well, I
That
mean
that's not
that's his specialty though. He's supposed to be the quarterback whisperer. He's supposed to be that guy. That's what you signed. That's what you signed
Reggie.
up for. So to
Can you
say
whisper? Can you whisper to a deaf person?
you can, whether they can hear you or not is
Okay,
something
then
else.
they ain't gonna hear you. Trevor Lawrence.
But that don't matter. I wouldn't tell you I'm gonna whisper to the deaf person and they gonna tell you what I'm gonna say. No, I'd say, hey, I can't whisper to a deaf person. So I mean, Doug Peterson signed up for this job. You were supposed to make Trevor Lawrence good. You were supposed to turn the offense good. They got you the pieces that you wanted. Now that can be another thought. The pieces that you wanted weren't good enough. That you added to the position that you added here. And you couldn't turn Trevor Lawrence into whatever you said you could turn Trevor Lawrence into.
So, how long before Trevor Lawrence gets somebody else fired? My guess is maybe
Three
2 years.
years. 3 years.
2 years.
How many
Two
more years you
years.
got on this contract?
Oh yeah.
It's 3 years.
Whoever takes his, and I assume that this next person will probably be black, which means y'all know what time it is. All right, let's go ahead and hire us a
Ah,
black coach to get us on out of there. We fire him in 2 years and get rid of him and Trevor at the same time.
start all over.
Yeah.
That was well timed. You, yeah,
All
you're right
right,
though.
folks, we have options. Go get a black coach. What? That's where we at.
Check over
So,
there.
yeah, black
No,
coaches.
no, you want
Yep.
at the front of the line? No. Go to the back of the line, all the way back there. You know, in your closet,
You're gonna
you
go
got
to
all
the
your
black of the line.
in your closet. You got all your colors up front. Then got the blacks in the back. Go ahead, and just go. What the cleaners do?
I didn't even know I still had this.
What? Boy, that's a 30 waist. Like, I can't. Whatever.
I go ahead and fold that up. I fold that up. I got a whole thing. Look, I don't even need you taking up space no more in this closet. I'll never pass this way again.
Living on a prayer. Other news. So, talked about head coaches getting fired. We have more. But
wait, did the Jaguars keep? I think the Jaguars also kept their GM, which is even more egregious.
The Jaguars are battling for worst run organization. I had an argument with a guy that thought he knew a lot about sports, talking about. I said the Bengals are one of the, if not the worst run organization, and he countered with the Jaguars, and I had nothing to say. I was like, "Ha! You might have me on that one," because the Jaguars aren't good. They haven't been good. But also, you have head coaches that are allowed to keep their job, but when you have to keep your job and you're on the hot seat, normally when the head coach is on the hot seat and he keeps his job, what happens? He fires everybody else. So the Browns have fired offensive coordinator Ken Dorsey. Talk about a fall from grace. And offensive line coach Andy Dickerson. What you don't know, or you may not remember, depending on how closely you pay attention to football and All News Off, is Ken Dorsey was supposed to be the next great head coach. Y'all remember? He was the offensive coordinator with the Buffalo Bills when they had Stephon Diggs and Josh Allen. Remember, he was supposed to be that guy, and then they started losing, and he couldn't handle it. He had that meltdown on Monday Night Football. They kept losing to the Bills, and he just could not handle it. Ken Dorsey, former Miami Hurricanes placeholder. he was quarterback, but I mean, I could have been a quarterback for that team. So it's interesting that they fired him. I wonder where else he'll go, because I mean, he's still a good quarterbacks coach, but offensive coordinator, he can't do it.
I don't know that he can't be an offensive coordinator. This is once again very similar to the Jacksonville situation, where you overpay for a guy, you overpay for an asset. That asset terribly underperforms, and then somebody ends up being the sacrificial lamb. What was he supposed to do? Deshaun Watson's not good. Ken Dorsey didn't pick Deshaun Watson. He surely didn't give him all that guaranteed money. So you're going to fire me because I couldn't get it with Jameis and DTR?
And Deshaun just had a setback from his Achilles today.
Exactly. So Stefanski, let's be real. This is a situation where I'm not sure if not getting – I think that this is better for Ken Dorsey than Stefanski.
That's what I was about to go. Is this a getting out of the way type thing?
You know,
and Nick Chubb broke his foot. I forgot about all of that. Nick Chubb been out for 2 years.
Correct.
Yeah, get out of there, Ken.
Sometimes, and I argue people, sometimes the best thing you can do is just get out of a bad situation versus staying in a bad situation just for the sake of it. Cleveland is a bad situation with no way out. No deal.
Sneaky, what you mean? What you mean? So apparently Ken Dorsey and Josh Allen didn't get along. Josh Allen was selling Ken Dorsey, and apparently Deshaun Watson was selling Ken Dorsey. Now, I don't know if I care about Deshaun Watson selling Ken Dorsey, as Deshaun Watson has to worry about himself. But
Deshaun Watson has a myriad of different problems, and also 250 million individual solutions to all of his problems. So I think he's going to be okay. At the end of the day, the bigger overarching theme so far between the two topics we've discussed so far is overpaying quarterbacks and how that can make your entire organization spiral out of control. It's the same thing that happened with the New York Giants. At a certain point, people are going to push back on paying these quarterbacks because if I pay this quarterback this amount of money and he can't at least be a top 10 quarterback, which is unreasonable because everybody can't be a top 10 quarterback, then I need to keep this money in my pocket and see if I can go cheaper and younger and just find me a guy. Because if you don't
Yeah.
find the guy, you out of there. I mean,
Yeah,
that quarterback
I
situation
think it's
is
an
trash.
indictment on definitely overpaying. But it's also it's something that we've been preaching for years, at least all this year. Development, 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 development. You got to get somebody in there to develop the quarterback. So part of it is you shouldn't pay these guys, but the reason you have Doug Peterson is to develop the quarterback. Now, Deshaun Watson's a different case. Deshaun Watson didn't need development. He was already a Pro Bowl quarterback. He did nasty. So, I mean, and then he just fell off a cliff after being nasty. So, I mean, that for Ken Dorsey is unfortunate. With the Trevor Lawrence thing, you got to be able to. Trevor Lawrence was, at the beginning of all of this, was still a relatively young quarterback. So you still needed to develop him, even though he was seen as somebody with limited development. He still needed development, and he has not developed at all. Everywhere else
But
we've
this is
seen,
the
there's been
thing.
development.
Once I draft you, between the time that I draft you and I give you a max contract, I have to see a reasonable amount of development. If I don't see that, or you have to come in good like a CJ Stroud. But if I don't see the development, that was my issue with Daniel Dimes. That was my issue with Trevor Lawrence. This person has never played good football. Why are you rewarding that person with the max contract? Why are you giving them all that money and you've never seen them play well? Don't make any sense. Same thing with Zion. If I'm going to pay you, you got to show me that you at least look to be worth it. I need to, especially if I haven't paid you yet, I should be ahead on the contract because you're on a rookie contract. I should be able to at least get some value early. Trevor Lawrence never gave you that. Trevor Lawrence didn't have a season where you're like, man, he really killed it. Daniel Dimes didn't really
He had
kill it.
at least he had a moment. He had a moment. He had what you thought was a career changing and him turning the turning the corner type moment.
For who?
Trevor Lawrence when they beat the Chargers in the playoffs. You can hindsight is always 2020. They were down 20 something points and they came back and won. Yes, you can look at it as they were down some 20 something points, but they also came back and won. And it was near contract year, and you had to make a decision. Okay, do I sign him or do I start over with the roster that they built around him? The fact that he didn't develop is just unfortunate.
Now, for other people, it very well may be hindsight. So I don't want to discount what you said there. But for me, I have been on this podcast from day 1, 2, 3, and 4 saying he's not good enough, and I know you guys are going to pay him.
Who else were you going to get?
Dimes.
Who else were you going to get?
That is what we have to start looking at. I don't know, but paying Trevor Lawrence all this money was not the answer.
That's the same thing with Kyler Murray. It was the same thing with Kyler Murray.
To a lesser degree. Kyler does, to me, show much more promise. Kyler honestly has more issues with, I think that his team was worse. They had coaching issues. I don't think that Cliff Kingsbury was ready to be a coach. But Kyler, to me, shows more flashes. I think that Kyler Murray is probably 10 to 14 quarterback in the NFL. He's not in that bottom tier of guys like, oh, you should be fired. He's just not good enough. He's an overpay, but I feel more comfortable in that overpay because I think that he is surely I think he's just a mid quarterback getting paid too much money. Trevor Lawrence, I think, is a bad quarterback who got paid a lot of money. And I think Daniel Dimes is a terrible quarterback who got paid a lot of
money. I just wanted to let you finish saying nice things about Kyler Murray. That's all I wanted to do.
Oh, no. One thing that I've always said about Kyler Murray is he's really fast. He's elusive, and the kid's got a cannon, and he'll show it every now
You
and then.
have never said those things in the same sentence till today. You
No,
always
that's factually inaccurate.
you never give him a compliment without a detriment. You never say, "Okay, you're good. He has a cannon. He's fast. He can do this," without saying, "Oh, but he plays video games. He makes bad decisions. He's temperamental.
Oh, he
This, that, and the
does.
third." You
He
say that
does.
every single time. So for you to go
He's
on a
very
monologue
much
here of how
he's
good,
very much he's very much the Trey Young mold to me, where hey, I see that you got some skills. You have some things that other people just don't have. But the
so he's
way
Cam
that you
Newton.
talk to people, the way which I was one of the first people who was like, hey, this Cam Newton thing is not gonna work out how y'all think it is. And I was the first person to be
Yeah,
like,
that's not on Cam though. Not to me. Not fully. Yeah, Ron Rivera playing a 46 defense in 2010 or 12, 13, whatever. 46. They had
I've
one receiver every year.
I always said that, but Cam Newton. I don't want to like bury the lead. To me, Cam Newton's just a front runner. He's just not a guy who, when you get down, can do anything. And I was proven to be right so many times that I don't even have to have a discussion anymore. But Kyler, I do think he has talent. I mean, this year,
But when you're
3,800
down,
yards,
when you're down,
20,
he's not going to do
21
anything.
touchdowns, 11 interceptions, decent season. I just think that he gets paid too much to have decent seasons. That's my thing with him.
Right. So you had Doug Peterson get fired. You had all of the coordinators on offense get fired for uh, Cleveland. Probably the most shocking, unshocking surprise that we've had was the Patriots firing Gerard Mayo. They leaked breadcrumbs about this for the last 3 weeks, really last month, about how players are not happy with Gerard Mayo, how him calling out people, et cetera, et cetera. All of the reasons to fire him, which told me and told us, hey, they about to fire him because they kept giving us and highlighting reasons to fire him that I saw versus reasons to keep him. Right? They didn't say, oh, he's a really good defensive mind. He's the defensive coordinator of a top 10, of a top 5 defense, even though the offense was terrible. He drafted, except they didn't say any of those things. The only thing they said was, hey, he's bad. So we knew that they were going to fire him. I can't believe they fired him after one season. I thought he was going to at least get the Doug Peterson treatment and get like another year, and maybe get fired in the season if he was terrible, or at least didn't show any type of improvement. I can't believe they fired him. This reminds me of the Steve, what is it, Wilcox from Arizona, when they fired him after 1 year and they drafted Josh
Yep.
Rosen. They fired him and got Cliff Kingsbury and drafted Kyler. That's why they
Yep.
ain't good. They'll never be good because of that. Not until they move on from
Right.
Kyler.
Right. And I think Kyler probably should move on from the Cardinals. But you're exactly right here. You didn't give Gerard Mayo nearly enough time. You surely didn't give him enough assets to be competitive. They have one of the worst rosters in the NFL as far as I'm concerned. And the Patriots have gotten away with a lot more than I think that they deserve. I
Mm-hmm.
think that we were kind of shammed into the Patriot way and this being one of the best run organizations in the world. I'm calling BS until proven otherwise. I think that Tom Brady fixed a lot more than he was given credit for. And as soon as Tom Brady disappeared, all the success disappeared. All the, I mean, not the making good decisions because they hadn't drafted well in ages and continued to not draft well. Hell, you drafted Mac Jones, that didn't work out. I mean, we're gonna see what Drake May is, but he's got a ways to go to be a hit. So for me, no, I think that the Patriots were able to lean on Tom Brady. Tom Brady was the best soldier that you could have, and now they're just in this eternal tailspin. And if I'm if Mike Vrabel does what I think he should do and go to Ohio State, I think you're really down bad. I think if you get Mike Vrabel I mean, I'm not sure if Mike Vrabel is going to be any better than Gerard Mayo. And I think that you could be right back in the situation in probably a year or two again. Nothing, and you got to get somebody to want people to want to come to Foxborough to play football. I don't think that Mike Vrabel is that.
Well, the way that the players were speaking and the way that everything was coming out of the locker room, Gerard Mayo wasn't that either. And I will say, I don't think that they should have fired him. I do think that he needed to figure out how to be a head coach and how to be a leader of men and CEO of a company. Remember, this is his first head coaching job ever on any level. He was only I think he was a coordinator the last year before he became the head coach. 1. 2, you make this move because you're eyeing 2 teams coordinators and you're putting yourself in a position to get 2 teams coordinators. You're putting yourself in position to get somebody from the Lions or somebody from the Vikings. Those are the 2 teams that you're putting yourself in position to get by getting rid of Gerard Mayo. I'm not saying you will. I'm not saying you won't. But I'm saying I think that's the thought process. Number 2.
I'm saying you won't.
Number
I'm
3.
telling you.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Let me just. Nothing is making me leave Detroit and Dan Campbell to go try to fix this.
Well, while I say my third point, could you look up the projected salary cap for the 2025 New England Patriots? Because what I see happening, if I remember what their salary cap will be after they could basically gut the roster, because there's really nobody worth keeping that's older, is a Charlie Weiss, Tyrone Willingham type deal where everything is now set up for whoever the coach will be to be successful. They're going to have a lot of money, right?
Yeah, $34 million
next year, right?
Correct.
And they're going to cut. You assume by them getting a new coach, they're going to cut a lot of people, right? So they're going to have. I'm projecting them just in thought, just in conversation. I'm gonna stay for a round number $50 million. You have $50 million. You also have a top. I think they're number 3. 1, 2, or 3. They have a top 5 pick. So you're gonna get a new quarterback. I mean, not a new quarterback. You're gonna get a new something to add. I'm assuming something with offense.
You don't get Travis. They don't get Travis.
Or you're gonna get Travis to pair with is it Gonzalez, who's really good on the other side.
I think he's gonna. I think he could help Drake May out enough on offense, and then also be cornerback too.
You don't even gotta worry about that, because let me tell you what's about to happen. You don't even gotta worry about that. Travis gonna play defense. He's gonna play him, and Gonzalez is gonna be crazy. Then you have the hype surrounding Joe Milton. Joe Milton, when he's gotten into the game, now he has gotten into the game against scrubs, that's inconsequential to me. Joe Milton putting up a good showing allows for you to then trade him somewhere. Somebody's going to get Joe Milton for something. Even if you could trade him for a 5th round pick. You get Joe Milton for a 5th round pick. Right? That gives you more leverage and more assets to be able to flip or use. So I think they're coming, whoever the next coach is coming in with a solid young base, a lot of money, and you'll basically have total control. The next coach is set up for success. Gerard Mayo was set up for success if they were to keep him. But unfortunately, it's just not going to happen. And that's the part that I hate, is the fact that the next coach is going to look like a guru for everything that's already been put in place. They're pulling a Donald Trump.
I don't think so at all. I think that this is an organization who is just kind of stuck. Like, I think that Drake May could be okay, but I don't think he's going to be top 10 quarterback. So you have a mid quarterback. The offense needs so much work. So much work.
Everywhere. They need every position.
Exactly.
Every skill position minus you assume quarterback.
I was just laughing at something where Cowboys fans was like, great. So all we need is 7 first-round picks, and we could build this team back. Same thing here with the Patriots.
They
That's
had
what you would
7
need.
first-round picks.
No. I'm saying in this draft.
Oh, yeah, no. Yeah.
So like that's what they need. I don't see a way to getting what you need. And you're right, you do have money, but I don't think that people are going to be interested in wasting away in Foxborough for very long. Now, could you probably clean up on some disgruntled people who probably want out? Sure. But you know what comes with that. They probably going to want out of somewhere else. So, especially if you start losing, which there's a high potential that you will. I think that this is a bad firing. And
it is a bad
firing. It's going to get worse.
100%.
And, I mean, and you can see where, if Reggie pull up the video, Gronk basically said the same thing. And Fox just cut him off. Like, oh, no,
cut him off immediately. I didn't want to freeze up the computer, so that's why I didn't bring it up. But that's what I was saying. Gronk went up there and was about to light into the Patriots. He was like, bruh. Right. Because remember, Jerome Mayo was his teammate. Tom Brady said a little bit in the Tampa Bay game. He said a little bit. He didn't say much, but he said a little bit because I think he got wind of what was about to happen. So Gronk was like, man, I can't believe they did that. He's only been there a year. This is his first job. Y'all gave him a terrible roster. Like, he's only been able to draft a quarterback and a cornerback. Those are the only 2 players he was able to draft. And everybody else, you traded away players, and y'all talking about because these young players are throwing temper tantrums is the reason. Basically what Gronk was saying. And then they cut him off right there. And I was like, oh, he was about to go in.
And remember, when we covered this originally, you know, they've been his teammate. They call him Baby Belichick for a reason. Mm-hmm. And they know who he is and what his character is. And maybe did he piss people off? Sure. Maybe were those people probably too sensitive for him and probably not going to be on the roster anyway? Also probably true. So for me, yeah, if you continue to make knee-jerk reactions, you will continue to struggle. I don't see many teams who live and die by
until they do right by Mayo.
Right. But yeah, until they start not making knee-jerk reactions, and really they're gonna have to find a new culture creator in there, because
Dan Quinn, go get him. Well, he ain't leaving, but he is the culture guru. You may not win, but you gonna have a great culture.
He's not leaving Jaden Daniels anytime soon. They're gonna have to separate him from Jaden Daniels for sure. So for me, and this is a team that needs they're a team that probably should go in the opposite direction. You need to go offense first here, and at least see if, because you're never going to out.
It's Travis Hunter.
No, I'm talking about head coaching philosophy.
Oh, you always go offense. Defense, the offensive coordinator is going to leave. You're going to have to get a new coordinator every year.
But what I'm saying is, I think their head coach they need to be a more offensive facing team versus what they've been in the past. Because number one, you still live in the shadow of Belichick, and you got to get people to want to come play football in Foxborough. It's not a great place to live. Not a great place to play football. So no, Why am I going to go here instead of somewhere else?
I'm not going to go here instead of somewhere else. Is the answer. I agree. I agree with everything you're saying. I got nothing else to say. I agree. I can't believe they did that. I lied. I do have something else to say. I can't believe that they fired him so quickly. Watch him end up in Las Vegas with Antonio Pierce, who is a no-nonsense coach, if they decide to keep him. And then you're going to have Jerome Mayo as your defensive coordinator or linebackers coach. And you're going to have to figure that out too.
Minnesota.
Well, yeah, because Minnesota's going to lose Flores. So that's the person. Yeah, that's. And then he'd be out for blood at that point, which I would be. But if I were him, hey, man, look, man.
You don't think Brian Flores is going to be out for blood?
Oh yeah,
You,
yeah.
you can go right, yeah, you can go right into the Dolphin statement.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, that's exactly what I was going to actually. Um, a statement from the chairman of the board, managing general partner Stephen R. Moss. I want to thank the players and coaches for their hard work throughout the 2024 season, as well as the fans for their support. Basically, the owner, Stephen Ross, announced that head coach Mike McDaniel and GM Chris Greer will return for the 2025 season, and they have his full support. Um, he wants to maintain continuity and leadership as they try to rebuild this roster. Now, I threw rebuild this roster in there because Tyreek has already said, I'm out of there. And when I say I'm out of there right now. I don't want nothing else for you to say. Don't pass go. Don't pass. I don't even want to. I got my money, so I just don't want to be here.
My man superimposed his head onto the AB shirtless clip. That's how out of here he is. Literally going back to Antonio Brown when he quit mid-game. To post that is
one of the greatest
crazy.
moments of sports.
And right, and funny, but at the same time, for sure, out of there. I did see that it was very interesting that when you looked at landing spots, the Falcons was on that list. That I don't know how we could afford that, number one. But also, that would surely be something.
I don't know. Yeah, so Tyreek Hill says, I'm opening the door. I'm out, bro. It was great playing here, but at the end of the day, I got to do what's best for my career. I'm too much of a competitor to just be out here. Mind you, this is interesting, coming from the same guy who said that Tua, if you remember, just last year, he said, and I quote, well, I paraphrase, I ain't gonna quote, Tua is just as good or has the capability of being just as good as Patrick Mahomes. Y'all remember that? Y'all remember when he said that? Clearly he was wrong. It's interesting that he wants to get out right now. That means to me he's probably not happy with, I guess, Mike McDaniel. But you did say that his next teams are, I think it's Washington, Atlanta, the Raiders, the Chargers, and the Baltimore Ravens. Let me tell you, I'm a Falcons fan, and I would love for him to be with the Falcons. I think we would have to probably get rid of a few players to make that happen. Although his contract, actually, I think I looked at his contract, ain't that bad. He actually it doesn't have a lot of salary cap hit at all.
His cap hit is $28 million.
I mean, if we could get Kirk off the books and we still could pay part of the salary, you could make that move. But my point is, do not let him get to Baltimore. If y'all let Tyreek Hill, Lamar Jackson, and Derrick Henry on the same team with Zay Flowers, bro, just
and Isaiah Likely, that would be very problematic.
Mark
Hell,
Andrews.
Justin Herbert and
Lad McConkey.
Yes, and no,
and he said
Harbaugh,
yes. Y'all heard him?
Because Harbaugh would put him. He would run him, and one thing Harbaugh knows how to do:
throw the ball deep.
Well, he knows how to throw the ball deep, but he also knows how to get that running game going. They just picked up Zeke, so yeah. Raiders a little bit less scary. Jaden Daniels and Tyreek is very, very scary because y'all know how I feel. I think that could let Terry McLaurin actually flourish as the wide receiver too. I really think he is. And then you put Tyreek, and then suddenly Jaden Daniels, what we just saw him do to us, it's even easier now because you have to keep an eye on Tyreek.
You can't double team nobody.
And then Jaden Daniels just death by 1,000 cuts. And you would just have to take that instead of letting Tyreek just fry you. Now this is the thing. Next year could be the end of that contract. There's a potential out in 2026,
He'll
and a
also be
dead cap.
32.
Yeah, and the dead cap. I mean, you're right, but age matters. But I'm rolling the dice. I think that Tyreek
Oh,
Hill would.
that's not an excuse not to sign him. I'm just letting you know that you may not get him for 5 years. You may have to.
Right? No.
He's trying to go to a team that's trying to win now, which
No.
Atlanta's
I think that
interesting.
that's what I think that that's where you have to understand, basically, and that should be the expectation going forward with Tyreek Hill. Is he need to do like those Deion Sanders 1 year deals, just 1 year, me. Because if we're not gonna win or be competing for a championship, I'm out of here. And I mean, I get it. Once you look at his age, I didn't know he was 30, 31, 32. You're right, just 1 year deal, me. And either we'll win a championship or I'm gonna get on.
But I can run 3 routes. I can run a stop. I can run a
Go,
and I can run a post corner or a post.
I mean, he can run the route tree though. He's a killer.
I'm not saying he can't, but
yeah.
once you get to be 34, I don't need to run the route tree. I just need to
Right.
be able to either take the top off the defense or allow for somebody else to be wide open. Now, folks in the chat are saying, him in Dallas is insane because him and CD Lamb just the expectations would be insane, which would probably be their hindrance.
Right.
But that would be crazy. But him on the Falcons is what you need. Yeah,
too many personalities. Too many personalities.
One
Him and
Jerry
and Dak and CD and everything else they got going on. And poor Mike McCarthy just in the middle of it. Yeah, I mean,
Chicago.
It's surely a thing, but and it's right up Jerry's alley. But it just would not. We would never get it. They would just broadcast Dallas news the entire time. We would never hear about any other team other than the Cowboys.
Atlanta's interesting though, because I said Atlanta probably, if you were going to go offense, we already said we should get an all defense for the draft. So if we're going to draft all defense, then that means you're going to add to the offense, if you decide to add to the offense, on free agency. Tyreek Hill does exactly what you need for, I think, our receiving core. I think everybody on our receiving core should be bumped down. Let me explain. Not everybody. Let me explain. Drake London's our number 1. Tyreek Hill and Darnell Mooney allow for you to figure out. You have basically number 2A and number 2B, or you have 1A and 1B with Tyreek and Drake. However you want to. You have 3 receivers that you really can't guard because Darnell Mooney has proven to be a really good number 2. Drake London has proven to be a number 1. Go ahead.
We'll send y'all Kyle Pitts too.
You give us Tyreek Hill, Charlie Warner can play all day. We don't need nobody to run deep no more. We just need y'all to do whatever in the middle of the field. So Tyreek Hill is interesting. I don't know if we can afford it. I'm assuming we try to get rid of Kirk. They're already linking Kirk to the Raiders, which
and Cleveland.
Which whatever. But that saves us 20-something million. Now, if Terry, you pull that off, ooh, expectations be through the roof. But that would be crazy. But shout out to Miami. Y'all have had a losing week. Jimmy confirmed that I'm trying to get out of there. Tyreek called him and was like, "You leaving? I'm leaving too, bro. We out of here." Spider-Man meme me up.
People trying to get out of Miami like it's the weekend, like spring break is over. It's the Monday after spring break.
Yeah, boy. The Monday after spring break is like finals prep. So you go from everything that's Miami to everything that's finals.
I got to get out of here. I got to go graduate now.
Too many lies have been told, and truths, depending on how you talk about it.
Mixture of both.
Yeah. All right, so what do you? Let's see where we going from here. We
can just update y'all. Hold on, we can just update y'all. The Giants are keeping Brian Daboll head coach.
Yep. Stupid.
And their GM Joe Schoen. This is the same guy who said, "Boy, I'll feel really bad if if Saquon goes to the Eagles, and we get to see that clip for at least another year. Shout out to
Another
the New York
year,
Giants.
that's going to be the clip that's played at his Hall of Fame induction ceremony. Don't let the Eagles win the Super Bowl.
Right, right.
That would be hilarious. I would laugh at
And
the
of
Giants forever.
course,
I don't care how
if
many
you
Super Bowls y'all
if you
win. I'm
go
gonna laugh at
right to
y'all.
the comments after seeing the Hard Knocks footage, then watching Saquon rush for over 2K, maybe a change of GM would be nice. 718 likes. Everything about this is what the New York Giants would do. Congratulations on go ahead and throwing away next season. That should at least give the Panthers and maybe even the Jaguars a little bit of reprieve that you won't probably be the worst football team next year. Poor Malik Neighbors. I feel like he should already just demand to leave there. But the Giants are continuing to spiral, and y'all know what I say. When doubling down on dumb is the worst thing that you can do.
So doubling down on dumb is the worst thing you can do. Interesting you say that. The Colts. Shane Steichen was on the hot seat. They were deciding what to do with Shane Steichen because of everything that has happened. The Colts aren't good. They're a team that underwhelmed. But even more so, they're a team that looked like with Shane Steichen, he didn't know what to do. Benching Anthony Richardson, bringing him back, it didn't have the same effect that it had on Bryce Young. So, and now Anthony Richardson revealed that he was so hurt he had to crawl around on his house due to back spasm that he's dealt with since 8th grade, but never to this extent. An MRI revealed a disc issue in his back. He, as well as Shane Steichen, are hopeful that he can suit up this Sunday for the team's finale against the Jaguars, which I think he did.
He
didn't.
Flacco did.
But I'm pretty sure he's going to end up having some type of surgery on his back. And that's kind of like when it rains, it pours, because he's physically hurt. He's been physically hurt. And now there's been reports of a Colts players only meeting where they met with Anthony Richardson to let him know that he hasn't met team standards. DeForest Buckner, who is the crown jewel of that defense, told Richardson that he signed his extension with Indianapolis because he believed in him, but now it's time for him to step up and do his part. Even third stringer Sam Ehlinger told Richardson that he needs to put more into work and fully commit if he wants to reach his true potential. If this is true, then that lends more validation to the earlier rumors they had of why they benched him. Right? They didn't bench him because of ability. They benched him because he said he wasn't dedicated enough. If this is true.
Now, for me, there's something that precedes this, and they say that even coming into this season, due to the way that they handled the Jonathan Taylor situation, this has always been a strenuous situation as far as leadership and the Colts. Even more than that, I will always say Anthony Richardson is supposed to be a complement to this team. This team, like the Browns, is supposed to, just like they're built around Nick Chubb, this team is supposed to be led by Jonathan Taylor. And if Jonathan Taylor is not producing as a top 5-6 running back in the NFL, then this team is not going to be able to go. That's where you spend your money. You spend your money there because that's the asset that he's supposed to be. And if he's not going to be that, then you can ask Anthony Richardson to do it. But I don't think that that's not what I understood this game plan to be.
Well, first off, you don't spend the 4th overall pick on a complimentary piece. 1. 2, where I think they messed up is trying to make him start immediately. You knew that he was a project, and you threw him out there, and he got hurt. And we'll talk about it and when we talk about the playoffs, why sometimes it's better to just sit your main players instead of throwing them out there to go get hurt, Green Bay. So you had him out there. He got hurt, so he missed all of the rookie season. His sophomore year, he comes back, and for whatever reason, he's not as dedicated. So now you've missed your rookie year, you've missed your sophomore year, you're going into your third year now, and the team is having meetings basically in public's perception confirming what everybody thought is that you're not dedicated. I can't shoot him any bail on the dedication piece. Yes, the Colts were poorly ran and they didn't do the right thing with Jonathan Taylor, but also at the same time, the running back position is devalued. So Jonathan Taylor wanted more money at a position that's devalued. And then they went and got a quarterback that can take carries away from you, essentially. So they did handle it wrong, but I understand their position. The whole thing about not being able, being called out for dedication gives me Jamarcus Russell vibes. And if you are Jamarcus Russell vibes, there can only be one Jamarcus Russell. They won't let anybody be there for 4 years and be absolutely terrible and not dedicate themselves to their craft. That won't happen again. They'll cut you next year and just not pick up your contract, and you figure it out from there. So while I do think he was set up to fail at the beginning because of poor management from the leadership standpoint, he also didn't do himself any favors by not being dedicated to his craft.
Fair. I mean, and sometimes you got to go somewhere else. That might be the situation that happens here.
Jacksonville, there's your trade. That's your trade right there. That's your trade right there. Now it's in the same division, so you could you could end up getting murdered 4 years down the line.
Which one would you want?
I don't know. Neither one of them. I don't know. Neither.
You have to pick one.
The cheaper one. So it would be Anthony Richardson because you're cheaper.
Right. And you can actually get rid, like, if the Anthony Richardson experiment doesn't work, he's cheaper and you can actually part ways with him faster and way easier. I don't know who.
Well, you would only have him for 2 years. Well, really 1 year before he wants an extension.
Yeah, but you could just say no. Trevor Lawrence, you got him.
You could just be like, no.
Yeah, no, I'm not doing it. I mean, and then you kind of put yourself in the like Commanders, Kirk Cousins position where make them earn it and they have to prove that I'm really worth it, or you just part ways. But that's always my thing is just because you kind of in line to get the money doesn't mean that you get the money. You have to earn the money in order to get paid.
Do you?
No, and that's been the problem. That's what we spent the beginning of the pod talking about was people not earning their money and getting paid and it just destroying your team 3, 4, 5, 6 years.
It is what it is.
Speaking of people destroying.
Huh?
Thought you was going to go to Devontae. Go ahead.
Devontae Adams? Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got a whole lot of stuff on there. So I don't know if that destroyed it. Devontae Adams, Aaron Rodgers destroyed the Jets. I don't think Devontae Adams destroyed the Jets.
The trade for Devontae Adams has made Garrett Wilson one out of there.
That's not Devontae Adams' fault. That is Aaron Rodgers and the gutless owner and the spineless GM who allowed for Aaron Rodgers to come in there and absolutely destroy and wreck your team. That ain't got nothing to do with Devontae Adams. Devontae Adams got his money. He got out of Oakland. Las Vegas. Not saying it's that much better, but I'm sure he ain't want to be there. At least he wouldn't go play with Aaron Rodgers.
He's going to go somewhere else.
Yeah, he is. He was going to go somewhere else regardless. That don't mean nothing. So, but Devontae Adams got absolutely destroyed in a stupid-ass call by, I don't even know. Is Nathaniel Hackett still the offensive coordinator there?
Who?
Aaron Rodgers, quarterback coach.
Who? Boy, they should never bring up Hackett again. Boy, he been a problem everywhere. They brought his name up.
Yep. But this is what Norwood was referencing with Devontae Adams. He is 4-12 last year with his old team, the Oakland Raiders. He is now 4-12 with his new team, the New York Jets. Norwood said that he's gonna go somewhere. I don't know if that's true because he has a $34 million cap hit. $34 million cap hit that's more than Tyreek, ain't it?
Hey, didn't we talk about it earlier? Drake May, don't you need a wide receiver? All right.
Yeah, I mean you do. You need a wide receiver. So I mean, but why would you pay $34 million for Devontae, who is 30 plus, right? He's in it. He's
what you gonna get?
T. Higgins.
You think
younger?
You think
younger, same amount.
You think you're the only one trying to be the only one? And you think if I'm T. Higgins, I want to go there?
If I got the money, why? I mean,
I think
if you're Devontae, why would you want to go there? If that's what you want to say, why would you go to New Orleans?
You don't want to go there. I'm trading you there. I didn't ask you where you want to go. Your ass is gone.
That don't matter. That shit don't matter. Trades. You gotta realize, and this is the athlete age of trade. If you trade me there, I don't have to play. You can find me all you want to. I have guaranteed money. You can find me all the incentive money you want. I'm not gonna play. Not gonna play.
Well,
Devontae is not overrated. What's up, Figo? Devontae is not overrated. You are tripping. Sneaky.
Nah, I don't think he might be overpaid, but I don't think he's overrated.
He's just old.
Yes. But yeah, I think that like Devontae, there's not that big of a market for you. And I don't think you want to be in New York anymore, especially with I don't think the Aaron Rodgers is coming back. I can't imagine there's a world where Aaron Rodgers comes back. And if he doesn't, then why would you want to be here?
I mean,
and I forgot.
Also, you kind of did your own thing too. The biggest thing I got is you are a consequence of your own decisions. Exactly. You decided to go and leave Green Bay and Aaron Rodgers to then go to the Raiders to play with your college buddy. Yeah. That didn't work out. They ended up trading him, so then you were there with a terrible team. And then you get traded back to the Jets with your buddy post Achilles injury to another terrible team.
If I'm the Jets, $80 million between Jordan Travis. You had to get to develop him. I hope you did what you needed to.
His ain't about development on the field. You got to get him on the field. His whole knee blew up. Remember? You're
right.
He's out of there. So then I'm gonna go to the playoffs. Let's talk about the playoffs. This is the bracket. As you can see in the NFC, it is the 1 seed Lions, the 2 seed Eagles, the 3 seed the Buccaneers are the 3 seed, the 4 seed the Lions, the 5 seed the Vikings. AFC 1 seed the Kansas City Chiefs. We've had that locked up for 3 weeks now. The Buffalo Bills at 2, Baltimore at 3, Houston at 4, Los Angeles. So many moving parts. Number 5, Pittsburgh number 6, Broncos number 7. Great playoff bracket. Gonna be some good games. How did we get here? So the Ravens beat the Browns to secure the 3rd seed today. They won, 35-10?
Whooped.
If I'm not, just absolutely destroyed the Browns.
And the Ravens are good. I mean, that's really all you can say at this point.
The thing that everybody knew that this was going to happen. 1. 2, what really took the cake was because this is week 18 of the NFL season, especially in the AFC, is you want to know what the other guys are thinking. So Myles Garrett basically said that there will be some changes coming forward. It's been leaked that he is probably going to request a trade, rightfully so, and that again, the top suitors, one of them will be the Falcons. Myles Garrett has a huge contract hit, if I'm not mistaken, to the to the uh, to the salary cap.
Now, if y'all want a first round pick, y'all can have
it. For Myles Garrett,
100%. Matter of fact, you get 2 and a second.
we only got 4 picks this draft.
You can have it all.
Pull the Saints with the Ricky Williams. We'll trade our whole draft.
Yeah, and I'll take 3 years. You got 3 years. Yeah, 100%. I'll take. Yeah, I will 100%. You can get 2 first. You can get the first this year. You get the first next year, and you can get the second. And either 26 or 25. I honestly don't care. To discuss this from a Browns point of view and from a Myles Garrett point of view, especially with the news we got today, that Deshaun Watson, who was already a flaming bag of garbage as far as production, had a setback with his Achilles. I think that, and Nick Chubb with a broken foot after all the things he's been through, there's no way that this works for Myles Garrett, especially when you got a coach who just fired offensive and defensive coordinators, if I remember correctly, and he'll be fired next year. He'll be dead in a year, Kid Ray. Just like Lean on Me. So yeah, best thing you can do is get Myles Garrett out, get you a first and second round pick, get you 2 more first and maybe a second. You can begin to rebuild this team on the anticipation of Deshaun Watson exiting. And that's really going to be your only step forward. The bad part about this is outside of the Deshaun Watson pickup, this is really a well-built team that could have been very dangerous. The other part about this is the gross mismanagement of assets. The guy that you needed is now just won the NFC South for the second year in a row, and that's Baker Mayfield. Had you developed and kept Baker, then this team is honestly a very, very scary team. So for me, I love it. I want Myles Garrett, and the Browns are going to be the Browns. You're going to be picking a new quarterback again like you've done for umpteen million years. But it's you.
Yeah. The Baker Mayfield thing is a mismanagement of assets, but it's also the end of a regime. So I think they got rid of their coaches. And normally when you get rid of your coaches and you get rid of your GM, you normally end up getting rid of your quarterback, getting rid of everybody. I think that was I don't know if that was the Sashi Brown regime where they did him kind of dirty, but if I remember, that's how they got rid of him. Myles Garrett, he's going to leave.
Not a million years. Yeah, he's out.
I would leave. I do think you're right that they're going to end up doing another rebuild, unless they were to figure out, because they don't have no money, even though they just gave some back, because you got to re-sign them or an extension that will alleviate some of the cap hit for the next year so that you can go get something. But, I mean, the only thing that you can really get, you can try with Joe Milton, but you've gone down the young quarterback rabbit hole, and it didn't work, even though you got DTR, who I didn't understand. Not gonna lie to you, I like him. Didn't understand that pick at the beginning. Anyway, he wasn't a world beater at UCLA because UCLA was boo boo. So you got to figure out what
the answer to this is.
Black quarterback. Oh, Shador's not going there. Deion's not gonna let Shador go to Cleveland. That won't happen.
Interesting.
He'll send Tennessee first. And Nick Chubb, don't know. Nick Chubb's been hurt literally every year.
You're not taking Shador over Cam Moore.
Cam Moore's going to who's number 1?
Tennessee. Cleveland 2.
Yuck. 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 That sucks for both of y'all, Shador and Cam. Yuck, 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 because Tennessee, although I'll go to Tennessee first. Easily. Tennessee probably is going to end up being worse than first next year in the AFC South.
Right.
Widely is
Tennessee is formally like it's not a great situation, but it's a much more fixable situation than Cleveland. Cleveland is still surely on the down slope. The AFC South is vulnerable.
Yep.
You can fix that. If you got the right quarterback, you can fix that. You ain't fixing the Cleveland Browns, not in the next 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, if definitely if I had to go with a quarterback I would go to the AFC South. Will Levis ain't it. The Mayo guy, he had another Levis moment. Did you see that? Where he kind of like jumped over the pile and looked like a cartoon character when they fall down the steps.
Yeah.
Looked like some Family Guy when Peter always falls down the steps. So yeah, Tennessee would be a good look actually because they have Calvin Ridley. They have 2 running backs, and they have a all-world defense when healthy. So I agree that might be it.
Tennessee at 1, they gonna take Cam Ward. I think that kind of said and done across the board. Cleveland, okay, Cleveland could take Travis Hunter, I guess. But if you don't go to Cleveland, then you get to go to the Giants, which is just as poorly run.
Malik Neighbors, though, he's got all of it. I mean everybody in the lottery is going to be
going to the Patriots. You're not going to the Jaguars. So, yeah, I mean, maybe the best thing that could probably happen to him is drop to 6. And maybe Deion does that. Maybe Deion forces him out of, I'm not going to the Giants. He will probably go to the Giants, though. But if he goes to the Giants, that might make him a ton of money.
Yeah, you got Malik Neighbors.
It makes you a ton of money. I don't think that's long-term the right answer for you, though.
The Giants have a decent offense. They have a lot of young players there to go with whoever's going to be the quarterback. They got a lot of it. You got Malik Neighbors. You had the other receiver that was really good. You have didn't they have the first 1,000-yard rusher and 1,000-yard receiver as rookies? Didn't they have that for the first time in franchise history with no quarterback?
But you're also going to be going right back into getting a new quarterback and GM next year because they're going to stink again next year. And then you're going to have to fire them. Because they're in the NFC East. The Eagles going to be better than them. The Cowboys going to be better than them. And the Commanders are going to be better than them. They're going to fire their coach next year. So then you're going to go through this year of stupidity. And then you're going to have a new regime next year.
Cooked.
And I hate that, like, it's so obvious for us to see this thing and be clear, like, oh, we're just waiting for people to get fired.
Yeah. That's really all we're doing. On the other side of that Browns-Ravens game is the Ravens. The Ravens secured the number 3 seed, we told you. But what's interesting, and we really put this in the chat just for Norwood to gloat a little bit. So Norwood's going to gloat a little bit because for the first Ravens wide receiver ever to make the Pro Bowl is Zay Flowers. After 29 years, since 1995, they have not had a Pro Bowl wide receiver. Even though Ravens fans will argue us up and down that they have serviceable wide receivers and they have good wide receivers. They've never had a Pro Bowl wide receiver. That's like Walter Payton being the leading receiver for the Bears all time. It's just ridiculously stupid.
There are certain things that just should not happen. That just should not be it. Same thing here. And I think this Zay Flowers has grown, and he's better than I probably assumed. I don't think that he's in the elite category. I think he's really good. I think that they still should be looking for a wide receiver 1, but it's even more impressive to me that to get a guy who I think is a wide receiver 2 to the Pro Bowl, which kind of stokes the fire for everything I've ever said. If y'all ever go get Lamar, a real killer, this Ravens team will look like something that you guys have never encountered before. I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Now, for a long time, I blame the organization for historically just not doing it. I mean, look at these numbers: 5,087 passing yards,
No,
highest
total
passer.
yards, total yards, total yards.
Oh, total yards. Excuse me. 1,000. I mean, excuse me. 119 passer rating, which I think is the highest ever. 41 touchdowns passing, 4 rushing touchdowns. You gotta get this guy an elite wide receiver. I think that there are guys who are available now. I think that you can't let T. Higgins not end up on this team next year. Or Tyreek, but you have to go get Lamar, one of those guys. I think that that makes Zay Flowers' life a lot easier, and I think then you got something that looks like what's happening in Minnesota or what's happening in Cincinnati, where you have Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, or you have Justin Jefferson and Addison, where we're gonna kill you now. And you guys already have an elite defense. If y'all add either Higgins or Tyreek, this team is extremely, extremely scary. I will probably lean into T. Higgins more than Tyreek because Zay and Tyreek are kind of similar. And I would like a guy who's a little bit taller, which is what you get from T. But you ain't wrong with Tyreek. Let me tell you that.
A few things here. So, the highest QB rating you can get is 158.3. So him having 120 for a season is just absolutely insane.
Unreasonable.
41 touchdowns, 4 rushing touchdowns. I think he's only had 4 interceptions. So 45 touchdowns and 4 interceptions, 5,000 total yards. And the 4 interceptions I don't think any of them were his fault. I think if the receivers catch the ball on the majority, I think he may have thrown maybe 1 interception, which would be the greatest individual season from a touchdown to interception since Aaron Rodgers' MVP year when he threw like two or three. So it does lend credence to your get him a receiver, a Pro Bowl receiver, and you will win. I think Lamar Jackson is LeBron James in Cleveland. I think he elevates everybody so much that Zay Flowers is a good slot receiver. Zay Flowers is not your number one. But Lamar Jackson is so good that he makes Zay Flowers a Pro Bowl receiver. I think Todd Monken was a hire that, I wanted the Falcons to hire. Was a hire that was fantastic. I think the Cowboys are stupid for allowing Derrick Henry to reach Lamar Jackson and the Ravens and Todd Monken. So now Derrick Henry almost, if it wasn't for Saquon Barkley having an outer body experience all season, Derrick Henry would be the rushing champ, and there'd be nothing you could do about it. I think Rashard Bateman isn't as good as everybody thinks he is, or as good as Baltimore people try to tell you he is. And I am normally the guy that gives more leeway to people than Norwood. Rashard Bateman is a number 3 or 4. But he's really good because Lamar Jackson, you can't double team anybody. And you're at the point in football where receivers are so good that they can get open for 2 seconds. Lamar's doing throwaway. He's entering like 2014, 15 Steph Curry type years where he's starting to do the throwaway touchdown passes, where he's starting to jog past people, when he's starting to do things where I'm so far ahead of everybody else and what they're trying to do, there's nothing you can do about it. The Ravens are good.
The other problem that he presents is not only that he is going to make the players better, is his ability to extend the play, even if you are a wide receiver 3, for a long time. And that is surely a way to get a cornerback killed, is having to cover for a long time. And his elusivity, he gonna move out of the pocket, and then that wide receiver 3 is gonna look like a wide receiver 2 because bro, you just chasing me. And eventually I'm just going to drift to where I can find an open space on the field and Lamar's going to hit me. No matter how good a cornerback you are, you can't do that forever.
Can't do it for 3. You sure can't do it for more than 4 seconds. And he was back there against the Browns for like, I mean, he ran across the field. Myles Garrett fell. Myles Garrett grabbed him. He got out of the tackle. He fell, bear crawled, tried to trip him, all in the same play, and then Lamar ran for like 15 yards.
And the
Bruh.
defense still has to be honest because you still got the Raging Bull back there. You still got Derrick Henry. So it's not even like I just got to worry about Lamar scrambling. There could be a play where Derrick Henry just runs my face off. So we got to put linemen and linebackers in position to slow him down. So now I'm one-on-one a lot of times in cover 3. So I'm Fadoli out there by myself. It's a trap. That's the reason if you get the other receiver, you get one more elite receiver, it's basically cheating. What you going to do with Zay on one side, Tyreek or T. Higgins on the other side, and Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson in the backfield? Call God.
Well, Isaiah Likely and Mark Andrews just chilling there in case you do make some type of wild, Brian
or you
Flores
better go get you
stuff.
a time machine and steal the Ravens defense when they had Ed Reed and Ray Lewis. That's it. Now, I would have paid to see that too, though, boy. That
Ed
old
Reed
Ravens
and Ray Lewis
defense
versus Lamar.
Man, boy.
I think we saw that though. We saw a version of that. We saw Steve. I don't think McNair was there when no, he wasn't. Steve McNair's before that time. That's 99.
You ain't seen nothing like. I mean, let's be real. You haven't seen anything like Lamar. Lamar is the.
He's getting to be what we thought Vic was going to be before the Chargers.
Right. He's going to end up being the second best black quarterback of all time.
Who's number 1?
Yeah. Reggie. Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah. Forgot about him.
The GOAT. Baby GOAT.
Speaking of Patrick Mahomes, because I'm not going to open up all of these, so my computer's acting
That's
wonky.
fine.
But speaking of Patrick Mahomes, they got a bye week, and they will end up playing. They lost to the Broncos because the Broncos played. I mean, the Chiefs basically played their practice squad team out there. So the Broncos made the playoffs, and they will have to go to Buffalo to play Buffalo in Buffalo for the wild card round, which for Buffalo, to me, that's probably the worst case scenario because maybe Pittsburgh is the worst case scenario because those are two teams that are used to the cold, and Buffalo, for what the rosters are, one thing that they can do is they have the weather as an advantage. Last year they played the Dolphins. No, that was the Kansas City Chiefs played the Dolphins. No chance. I think the year before that, I think that the Dolphins played the Bills. No chance. If the Los Angeles Chargers had to go to the Houston Texans, no chance. Baltimore would have a difficult issue going to Buffalo because it's so cold and it's so much snow and it's so windy and it's outdoors and it's like a mental thing. Denver playing in Mile High Stadium with less oxygen than you and just as cold as you have is uniquely set up to be able to weather this.
I enjoyed this because it looks like all the teams were kind of seeded properly. So you have the LA Chargers versus Texans, two warm weather teams. You have the Steelers versus Baltimore, which are strict rivals and both cold weather teams. Broncos and Bills, two cold weather teams. Then in the NFC, you have the Rams and the Vikings, both dome teams. You have Washington, who will travel to Tampa Bay. that ain't the end of the world. And then you have the Packers and the Eagles, who are two cold weather teams. This is going to be who's the best team, not, hey, I get to lean on the opportunity to let me see if the weather can beat you. This is really good. I think this makes the games probably a little bit better and closer.
Elite matchups. Elite matchups. Unfortunate that the Vikings and the Lions played for first place. I like that sneaky
Vikings got
Lamar
cooked.
as if Vic would have had a real offensive system. Yeah, kind of, sort of. Lamar just got a real offensive system now, like this year.
Right.
So,
And Mike, unfortunately, his downfall was his own downfall. Had Mike just continued to play, I mean, imagine if imagine if you get Mike and Julio.
yeah, I don't think you get Julio, but
You're right.
yeah, I get what you're saying. Um, it's definitely elite matchups, but with the Vikings and Lions, it was unfortunate that the Vikings and Lions both were 14-2. It's unfortunate that the Vikings and Lions were the number 2 and number 3 team in the league, the number 1 and number 2 team in the NFC, and the number 1 and number 2 team in their division. It's unfortunate because they had to play each other in Week 17, and
Yep.
I, as you can see with the seating here, I don't get it. The Lions are the number 1 seed. They beat the Vikings in the second half, basically, because it was close. I got a lot of
They
notes
whooped
on
them
this.
31-9.
I got a lot of notes on this. The Lions keep winning. They went out there with a cornerback that was cut by the Raiders. They brought him on. He was the 4th cornerback. He went to the coaching staff, Aaron Glenn, amidst all the injuries, and said, "Hey, I'm from the same place as Justin Jefferson. I had to guard him in high school. Give me a shot to guard him." Not only did he guard him in the game, he got the game ball because there was a mixture of him shutting him down. I ain't gonna say shut him down, but there's all and Sam Darnold turned into Sam Darnold for the first time this year. He missed Justin Jefferson twice in the end zone. He missed Jordan Addison like 3 times. And the Lions won with the B squad. They keep winning with players that weren't supposed to be on the team or weren't supposed to be playing. And they keep doing it. Dan Campbell has figured it out.
If there's anything that you can take away from this podcast, please listen to me and listen to me closely. Organization and leadership are the key to your success or to your failure. If you have good people leading your organization, it will constantly be successful. Players will come and go. Players are great assets, but as we can see from the Steelers, whether you got the players or not, if you got the guy driving the ship in the right direction, you're going to be able to make it further than a lot of teams who have better players but worse leadership. That is what Dan Campbell has continued to do. I know I got a lot of DMs, I got a lot of texts about, Sam Darnold turning into a pumpkin. Just like I tell y'all all the time. Number one, this is one game. Knee-jerk reaction, you know how I feel about him. Relax. Number two, he played well all season. So if you weren't high on him when he was killing it, then don't get low on him now. And at the end of the day, whether you like him or not, he plays so well, he gonna get another chance. He'll be right back there next year. If he does it again, then he'll be on his Baker Mayfield trajectory where I proved to y'all that I am who I said I am. And then you have to deal with that. If he stinks to join up, then you got J.J. McCarthy and you go in that direction. Also, y'all had the guy all year. Y'all have to be able to look at his organization and say, hey, is he legit or is he not? He come to your job every day.
Yeah. I mean, you got to stick with him. We'll see what you do against the Rams. You guys are supposed to beat the Rams. As as the Lions head coach said, Dan Campbell, hey, I'll see you in 2 weeks. Both of these teams are a product of their coordinators. So the Vikings were sticking with the Lions in the first half, and the Lions offensive coordinator just decided, okay, he's probably the best I've seen in the past couple of years of whatever you give us, we're going to take. So the Vikings basically said, all right, well, y'all ain't got everybody's hurt, so we're just going to take away Amon-Ra St. Brown. We're going to try to take away your passing game. So they just, in the second half, just gave the ball to Jahmyr Gibbs. The whole second half. He had 4 touchdowns. Like, they're so good as coordinators of just making differences. Like, on defense, Justin Jefferson, they single covered him one time that whole game. One time that I saw where they put him against one-on-one coverage and he had like a 40-yard catch, and they didn't do it the rest of the game. They double-teamed him the rest of the game. And they basically took away Jordan Addison, and they took away Justin Jefferson and said, you're going to have to beat us with Cam Akers and TJ Hawkinson.
And you can't get fooled again.
And you can't. The Lions are so good that they're projecting Aiden Hutchinson. They're already having the conversations that Aiden Hutchinson will be back for the Super Bowl, which is what you don't want because Zadarius Smith is on the other side.
Man, all you want is
So, and then David Montgomery should be back for this game. The Lions are ridiculously good, dog. I don't know what else to say about them except for
an embarrassment of riches.
But it's not riches though. I mean, it is. It is riches. It is riches. It's Jameson. It's having foresight. Jared Goff, getting him to buy in that we believe in you when he was cast off, and then getting him to believe in himself.
Stupid decision.
Getting him to believe in himself. I think that's Dan Campbell's superpowers. He gets you to believe in yourself, and he's committed, bro. They were up by 12. No, they were up by like 10. And he was like, if I kick a field goal here and go, it'll still be a 2-score game. The Vikings weren't coming back to win. But he was like, I'm going to go for it on 4th down anyway. He went for it on 4th and 3, got it. They ended up scoring again, and it just took all the wind out of it. Dan Campbell is true to himself.
His name is Dan Gamble. That's what they call him.
And it works until it doesn't, but he's true to it. And he's starting to figure out, okay, I have a reputation as Dan Gamble. Sometimes I won't. I'll play regular.
Right. Which, I mean, that is a little tricky for me. If that's going to be your thing, then roll with that. And I think that it's like Riverboat Ron to a probably a better degree or better execution, but if that's going to be how you play it, that's how you play it. You know, one of my favorite coaches, Steve Spurrier, he was going to do it. We going for it. Knockout punch, step on the throat, whatever it takes. I ain't playing with you. I'm here to hurt you.
Yep.
And I think that Dan gives people confidence for life, and then he also plays it aggressive. Those two things, the ability to play aggressive but give the players the confidence that we can actually do it, that's a unique gift.
Yep. So, you know, we talked about the AFC. We got the NFC with the number 1 and number 5 seed. Interesting that Washington beat the Cowboys with Marcus Mariota. Again, so now they're the 6th seed instead of the 7th seed. So they play Tampa Bay, who has found their franchise quarterback that has literally dropped into their lap in Baker Mayfield, who didn't play the greatest game against the Saints to win the division. But I watched that game. Baker Mayfield willed that team to win. He was peak Baker Mayfield. And talking about taking what the defense gives you, the Saints played a really good game. And I was so scared that the Saints were going to win and that we had to beat Carolina to win the division, and we were going to lose to Carolina.
Let me tell you, hold on 1 second here. I am at Zach's wedding. They are literally like about to exchange vows. I just happened to look at my phone, and I am very close to emotional breakdown. I see us losing, and I see the Saints potentially winning. And I'm like, I will cry in this wedding. And I'm talking about like a boo-hoo cry. Like lay out on the floor if that happens.
That is the
I'll
worst
be
case scenario.
and it's a place where you can't yell or say nothing. I'm just in there like, bro, don't do this to me. Just put me out of my misery, which eventually happened. I do want to say, number one, what's the coach? What's the black coach? Oh, Todd Bowles. You hit. You hit to hidden. Let me tell you. They've been looking at you like, oh, we're going to fire him any day now for the last 2 years.
At least.
Baker Mayfield has protected you. He got you straight. I think it did. I don't think that there of available quarterbacks. I don't think that there was one better than Baker. And I think that
No, but I don't think. I think Bowles' defense. Now, Bowles'
they work
defense.
together.
It was a good spot for Baker to go to now.
Right. But the other part is I don't think that even if they don't win the NFC South next year, don't have a great season next year, they can fire him.
They gonna have
two NFC Souths, two NFC Souths that I think that you had neither. When you started the season, in neither case, you were the favorite to win it. So you won it. You took it from Atlanta and the Saints last year, and definitely Atlanta this year. That's a hell of an accomplishment. And I'm going to say it now before we get into that. Tampa Bay is just better than Atlanta. Tampa Bay is a team that deserved to go to the playoffs. The Falcons did not deserve to go to the playoffs. The Bucs are a better team.
Better coached. I don't say a better team. They're better coached for sure. They're better coached. The mistakes that I can't get mad at Atlanta and say that a lot of these teams are better than Atlanta because Atlanta's just poorly coached. They were just poorly coached the last 6 games of the season. Everything that could go wrong was wrong. Now, you said Todd Bowles could still be fired next year. If Todd Bowles beats...
No, I don't think so. I don't think he can be fired next year.
No.
These two NFC Souths, whatever happens, happens. As long as you don't just spiral, then you're good. I think, anyway.
What's going to piss y'all off is Tampa Bay, I don't know how healthy they are or how healthy they can get. I think somebody else just got hurt. But you
back in the car crash.
Whitehead. You T's and P's here to the Whitehead family as well. He got in a serious car crash on his way to the game to play the Saints, and they still overcame. So thoughts and prayers. But there's a world where Tampa Bay can beat the Commanders. They can beat the Commanders.
Hell yeah. We almost beat the Commanders, and the Bucs are better than us. You can be had.
Better coached.
They better. I'm not finna sit up here and act like they lost more players than us.
That's why I don't think they're better than us. They're just better coached. Better coached.
I mean, their draft picks also really performed. Like they picked some. I mean, Michael Penix, but who else this year?
Oh, rookies? Are you talking about rookies?
Yes.
Oh, I don't think
Bucky Irvin, that wide receiver. They hit. That's just my opinion. You may not agree. I think the Bucs are just a better team. Just better. Especially at full tilt with Godwin and Mike Evans. Yeah. And as much as I like Michael Penix, he's not better than Baker today. I'm not gonna sit up here and be disillusioned like that. Nah.
I don't think we've seen enough of Michael Penix, but what I've seen, I think next year he'll give Baker a run for his money. But also Baker have a full arsenal. But this team plays defense. At the end of the day, this team is never really out of it because they don't really allow more than 21 points, 20, 25. The only time they did that was against the Falcons. That one time, the last good time Kirk Cousins was good. That was it. So, Baker Mayfield is definitely the franchise quarterback. You got to re-sign him. And he's at the point now, I think he'll resign for a reasonable contract. He's been up under Tom Brady. People discount that because he was only there for a year. I think if you look at Tom Brady's work ethic and you listen to him speak and his thought process, he knows how to win. He may not be a nice person, but he knows how to win. And I think that's rubbed off on Baker. So Baker is going,
and I think Baker has the motivation to try to stick it in Cleveland every chance he gets for the rest of his life.
he won't play Cleveland, but probably once every 2-3 years.
No,
So
no, no. I don't. Not that way. I'm talking about just y'all left me
oh
for dead. Y'all blame me for everything. Let me show you. And you guys went and got this guy overpaid, and you're just stuck. And now look at me. I'm up. I'm
yep.
back, and I'm better.
So we talked about all of these NFC thoughts. We'll preview more because Green Bay and the Eagles. I tell you, Green Bay, sometimes it's better to sit out your players than to go for going from the 7 to the 6. I know you don't want to play the Eagles and Philly. You would rather play Tampa Bay, but you lost Christian Watson, and he's out for real. For real, he hurt his knee like not as bad as Tank, but it's multiple injuries in one knee.
Right, and it's going to be one of those situations where it'll be a while before you get him back next season.
And he just got back.
Right.
So that now I will say Green Bay is more equipped because of the way that they run their offense. But you also got Jordan Love hurt. Like you got Jordan Love hurt that last week. So I mean, you got your number one quarterback, and they don't even have a number one wide receiver. They just got a bunch of receivers that are really good. So I mean, you got to figure it out, and now you got to go to Philly in the cold. We about to have a snowstorm, and you have an injured thumb on your throwing hand. That's gonna lock up. It's unfortunate.
It's not gonna be fun for sure.
Nope. I don't really care about the Chiefs or the Broncos. I'm sorry, I don't really care about Chargers, Raiders. Quentin Richardson is learning how to catch the ball. Shout out to you. I'm always happy for you. I'm gonna ask you this question because I got to figure out because I'm about to end this podcast here and we'll come back for basketball tomorrow. But I'm gonna ask you this question: 2 disappointing teams. Who's the most disappointing team? The Atlanta Falcons or the Cincinnati Bengals? Both teams didn't make the playoffs. One ended 8-9, the other ended 9-8. Both had 1,000 yards. I think Atlanta had 2,000 yard receivers. They both had 2,000 yard receivers, 2 1,000 yard receivers. They both had the Falcons had a better running game for sure. The Falcons had a better defense for sure. The Bengals had a triple crown winner at wide receiver, the league leader in passing yards, and at quarterback, and then the best, a top 3 number 2 receiver, probably a top 20 receiver as your second receiver, who annihilated all the teams that he played the last 3 in T. Higgins. The last 3 teams that he played, all the cornerbacks. Who's more disappointing, Falcons or Bengals?
Falcons. I don't think it's even close, and I'll tell you why. The Bengals are good kind of on the margins. So, like, yeah, you have an outlier quarterback who's super elite. You have Jamar Chase and T. Higgins who are super elite, and then you have Trey Henderson who's super elite. But outside of that, the team's got a lot of places where it needs to be better across the board. So, to me, it's an 80-20. The Bengals were able to win these games because of the 20% that they had that is just better than everybody else in the NFL. But 80% of that team is just like, what are we doing? Why can't the offensive line get it together? Why do we let Joe Mixon go? Why did we let Joe Mixon go somewhere else and be good? It's just so many different things, so many problems on that team that the guys who are good just basically picked everybody else up. You look across the board on the Falcons team, there's just not that many holes on the team that you can actively point out where you can say, boy, this team stinks here, here, and here. You can say,
defensive end.
Hold on,
linebacker,
wait,
safety,
hold on,
cornerback.
wait. So if you really look at it, and it's kind of the order I was gonna go. Defensive end could surely be better. Sure. There's one place we're really bad at. One place. And yeah, we're just bad there. Linebacker, okay-ish. If I look at linebacker cores in the NFL, I don't think that the Falcons are terrible. They just didn't do enough. And then when you look at safety, Jesse Bates is one of the best safeties in the NFL. And Justin Simmons, he wasn't great, but he also wasn't absolutely terrible. He was okay. The things that the Falcons didn't do was unfortunately like more just leadership things. It's coaching. It's not managing the game. It's not making the right changes. So to me, I don't think that the Bengals are really fully equipped. And I will also say the Falcons had the easier road. It was kind of paved in gold for them to win the NFC South, and you just didn't get it done. And for me, the Falcons are the much larger disappointment. And Jadeveon Clowney, sure you sent us home, but let me tell you one thing: you always got a new home. Every year you go into a new team, so pack it up. And the thing is now, you on the worst team in the NFL, and surely they beat us. But that's probably going to be the only team to ever call you back.
I think the Falcons are the bigger disappointment, not because they don't have holes on the roster. I think the Falcons are the bigger disappointment because they knew the holes on the roster that they had and they didn't address them. We've had a defensive end edge need since John Abraham. We are on GM number 2, coach number 4. I think we had Vic Beasley for 1 year where we went to the Super Bowl. Yeah, like 20-something sacks. After that, Vic Beasley disappeared. And we still haven't addressed that. The obvious thing is the reason you're disappointed is because you spent $100-something million and you benched a quarterback in week 10. I also think that ended up saving your job. Go follow the Splashcast where I talked about that. I think that saved Terry Fontenot's job. But you also did not address the second cornerback as adequately as I would have liked. I didn't like the Mike Hughes signing. I would have put him at nickel. He would have been a great nickel cornerback because that's what he played. You went out there with D. Alford. You went out there with Mike Hughes. Justin Simmons was good. Justin Simmons tackling is awful. I mean, it is awful. And you didn't address. You spent all that money, and you could have addressed literally every single thing in the draft or in free agency by not doing Kirk Cousins. But I'll shy away from that because of you did get Michael Penix.
You swung and missed. You swung and missed on Matthew Judon. That looked like.
And you tampered. We only got. I've done the mock drafts. We only got 5 picks, and the teams know it. They be like, "Hey, I'll give you a 4th round pick for your next year's second." You'd be like, "Bro, I'm not stupid." But anyway, the reason I say that they're worse than the Bengals is because of those things. Now, the Bengals are just a terribly run organization, but Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins and Trey Hendrickson are disappointing. Are good, but like you said, outside of them, you can't name anybody else on that team because nobody else on the team is worth naming. And they're now in a conundrum because they have to pay Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. And Joe Burrow is already on tape on the record saying, I would like to have both of them back. And his stats tell you he would like to have both of them back, as I lead the league in passing.
And you should find a way to get him back.
Because T. Higgins that's where the money is.
That's where I do give Terry Fontenot a lot of bail is everything that we've seen from Michael Porter Jr., check box, and that was a roll of the dice.
Penix.
That was not liked at that time. So that was a good one. Bijan Robinson, as much as that wasn't probably the guy who I was going to pick, you can't ask for any more from that guy.
Yeah. I like it.
He's
I like
a,
the pick, but I wouldn't. I still wouldn't have made that pick. I still would.
But if you're gonna get a guy who's a top 5 running back both years, what else can you? Who are you going to draft that was going to be a top 5 of their position for 2 years in a row?
Jalen Carter.
I mean, yeah, that was my pick, but fair. But what I'm saying is, I can't get mad with you for that. Bijan looks like
you had
everything
Algier,
and
who was
more.
1,000-yard rusher. You can't. I've been mad. I like Bijan, and I've been quiet, but you could have Jalen Carter with Grady Jarrett. All that defensive end crap that we have a problem with, you could have put anybody out there, anybody, because you wouldn't have been able to guard him. So I get what you're saying, but
and Drake London was an excellent pickup. I think that he's a top 10 wide receiver in the NFL going into next season, and he is a dog.
He could be.
He is a dog.
Got to work on the drops, but yeah, if he gets those drops on there, because Michael Penn is gonna put it right, he gonna hand it off to you.
The drops could be better, but his level of intensity, enthusiasm, and he has no issue getting physical on the block. Oh man, he might not be perfect, but he's a slam dunk, and he sets the pace for that team. He don't take no shit. And we need
Mike
that's
Evans.
one thing.
Little Mike Evans.
Exactly.
Or Big Mike Evans. I think that's
I love Drake London. I love watching him. I wish that Kyle Pitts had the dog in him that he has. That's really the difference between the two. Drake London is just a man on a mission. And if you get in front of him, he's going to do his best to knock your face loose, whether he's running the ball or catching the ball or blocking. He's a football player.
Yeah, going into the offseason, the Bengals have more issues to address, and that puts them in a bad space. But the Falcons, we have an anchor at every position. Yeah, come on, YouTube, Instagram. We have an anchor at every position. We have an anchor at receiver. We have an anchor at running back. We have an anchor at quarterback. We have an anchor at offensive line. We have an anchor at defensive line. We have an anchor in the secondary, and we have an anchor at safety. We just got to fill in the pieces. You probably got to draft a linebacker. You have to draft a linebacker. And it's only 2. You either get Jalen Walker from Georgia, or you get the linebacker from Alabama, who everybody thinks who is number 2. You got to get 2 of those guys.
The Falcons' biggest issue, I hate to say it, is the coach.
Yes, it is yes, I agree. But you can mitigate those issues if you were to get a linebacker that can cover. Like Troy Anderson was good, but he's hurt. Nate Landerman is great at 0 to 3 yards. If the play is within 0 to 3 yards of the line of scrimmage, he's gonna be there every time. You do any action pass, he's cooked. Bryce Young ran around him and pointed at him.
We do not have a coach that can make. He's milquetoast. He was all like the biggest concern about him is what ended up being true. He's just kind of there.
Yeah, he is. He's a good public speaker. He's like a stockbroker. The Great Gatsby. Like he's really good at like saying the right things and smiling and da 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 da. But like when you get to the meat of it, pause if necessary. When you get to him where the rubber meets the road and you gotta showcase your coaching talents, it happens so many times this year. And I think that's the bad thing. It may have happened before with Raheem, or like 1 or 2 games. This year it happened for 9 games in a row. Let's see, we're 6-2, right? 6-3. So it happened for 8 games in a row, where poor play calling and poor play and poor decision making,
management,
all came together at one time, and it culminated in us not making the Pro Bowl. Making the playoffs, which we wouldn't have been able. I mean, we could have beat if we beat Washington, we would have had to play them again, and I think we could have beat them. I think we were better than Washington. Full stop. I think we were better than Washington.
Yeah, we just manage the game better, we win. That is the thing that Arthur Blank needs to look long and hard at. Is the reason that you're not in the playoffs is because your coach didn't do his part. The players, even Kirk Cousins, that October, like I know that he fell off, but Kirktober really set the pace for this team early. It got us back into feeling like winners again. And it reminded us what it looked like, what a team can be when the quarterback plays well. You got to also reinstill what winning looks like, especially when you have 2 years of just pissing it away. There's no other way to put it.
Who, the Falcons?
Yes.
7.
So you go
7 years.
No, but what I'm saying, I mean, no. That Matt Ryan, not the last Matt Ryan year, but the year before was decent. Then we had the Mariota and Ritter era, and then the Kirk. But Kirk got us back to remember what a winning Falcon team looked like. It's an overpay, but it was needed. And I don't even think we could have went from Mariota, Ritter right to Michael Penix. You needed the bridge. So the bridge was there, but at the end of the day, for me, man, Raheem ain't it.
We haven't had a winning season since we went to the Super Bowl, if I'm not mistaken. So Raheem's got to figure it out. He's earned another year. I think him and Terry have earned another year because of the draft and Michael Penix.
So. I don't think so. I think that he'll get another year. I don't think that Raheem Morris has earned another year. But that's just me.
I think him and Terry are joined at the hip.
I think Terry
Raheem gets another year. Terry gets another year. But Raheem to me has to figure out what he's going to do with Jimmy Lake. You need to either go get Gerard Mayo to bring in to help or whatever. But Jimmy Lake was supremely out of class. He was he could not call the right plays. I would bring in Ryan Nielsen.
I assume Ryan Nielsen wants to get the hell out of Jacksonville.
He could just coach the defensive line if that's all he wants. And bring them all. You know, players go with coaches now. Bring some of them Jacksonville D linemen over here.
Bring Ryan Nielsen back as the defensive coordinator. Bro, you did a great job. I know you left with Arthur Smith. I would really like to have you back. I don't
co-defensive coordinator. I don't think he's going to get rid of Jimmy Lake. Not this year. That's
going to get you fired. Everything is about decisions. Matter of fact, that's the name of this show. Decisions. Because that's it. The decisions that you make, if you keep Jimmy Lake, and I'm going to be honest, Raheem, you need some people to elevate you. You ain't doing the best job. You can't have people who bringing you down. You got to get it together. You don't get the chance to be like, oh, let me help some. No. What do they say when you're on a flight? Put your oxygen mask on first.
Yep. But, ladies and gentlemen, if we have anything else to talk about, we'll continue it before the basketball segment tomorrow. It is 1 o'clock, and we are both whooped. So, Norwood, if we didn't miss anything, very briefly, take us to the basketball segment.
Oh, we out of here. See y'all tomorrow. Hawks play tomorrow, so we'll give you a live look. Peace.
Yep. As always, remember, like, follow, subscribe. We'll see y'all tomorrow. We out of here. Until next time.
What should they do? Like, follow, subscribe. Thank you, my friend. We in for it.